The project ITIDE, Inclusion Training in Intellectual Disability for Educators in Europe, is a 3-year Erasmus Plus funded project. The budget is about €350,000 over those 3 years. The project will develop a set of learning materials for use by professionals and others in the European Union, and it will also have a research strand as well, where we'll explore the provision that's currently there and produce recommendations and produce some practice guidelines for how those materials are used. There are 1 million families in the UK with children with disabilities. Now, that's if you regard disability as intellectual as well as physical disabilities. So there's a large number of parents and a large number of children throughout Europe. And we just aren't including these learners in schools. They don't stay on to post 16. After that, they don't go on into employment in the numbers that they should be going on to. So we aren't succeeding in educating and including these individuals, either including them in schools or including them in society and enabling them to live independent lives, which is the ultimate goal. One of the reasons we were successful in the bid, I think, was that we are adapting a set of materials that was written for use in the UK. And these materials are recognised to be internationally groundbreaking. There is nothing like them out there that we know of. And these materials were paid for by the government. The UK government put £1 million into developing those materials, and those materials just simply weren't used. So one of the aims of this project is to get those materials to be used more in this country and to be used more in other countries. Now that's partly about adapting the materials. It's also partly about working with stakeholders and commercialising the way the materials are used, a whole set of things. But the actual materials that we started with are excellent, and it's one of the things that means we have a head start on. If we were to be starting from zero and developing our own materials, we actually already have the materials. It's a question of how we then use those materials. It's fine to have legislation in countries, and there is legislation in countries, but legislation is only meaningful if people have the knowledge to be able to enact that legislation, to comply with that legislation. So the materials enable people to do that, or they help people to do that, let's say. The idea is that they pass on knowledge, which is research-based knowledge for the most part, about children, their conditions, and how to work with those children, what strategies have been shown to be successful, what things are important, what it's like, if you put it that way, what it's like to be somebody with complex needs. I think as a university we're also very innovative. We have a distance learning unit that are an integral part of supporting this development for the university. And I think we're also a university that has a research office that are prepared to support us in bidding for these kind of projects, which are, I suppose, non-traditional. This area in which we've bid is neither research nor is it vocational education. It's a kind of hybrid of the two. So I think it ideally plays to our strengths. The end result of this project, if it's successful, will be that we make a difference to the learners who have complex needs and the professionals that work with those learners, and also to parents, because the materials that we create, the materials we help our partners create, are going to be open source. One of the requirements of the Erasmus project and the EU requirement is that the materials that we produce, the online materials, are going to be available to everybody to use. So hopefully we're going to try and reach as many people as we can with training materials, educational materials that help people to work with children with complex needs.